You will be live soon. You are live now. Does this status bar go away by itself?
Yes, it will.
And I'm live, I think.
Yes.
Oh, it hasn't gone away.
Oh, you can just click on the little X to make that disappear.
So I'm okay to
Yep.
start?
Yep,
Okay.
please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. This is the Apogee Behind the Scenes tour. We are going to take questions after my little presentation. So that will be in the Q&A section. You can chat amongst yourselves, but I'm not following the chat. It's just too much going on here. I'm learning this Excel events stuff as well as you are learning my way around. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. I'm going to play a little video, and it's going to run about 20 minutes, and it's going to be a little bit of a history of Apogee. And then after that, then we'll go ahead and take questions. So first, I'm going to try to queue up this video. And we're going to start it, and hopefully this is going to work. It was founded by Ed LaCroix around 1989. And I first saw it from an advertisement in American Space Modeling magazine from July 1989. And I wrote away and got a catalog, and this is the catalog, what it looked like. And inside you would find all kinds of competition rockets. There wasn't a lot of competition, but there was enough to spark my interest. I was working at Estes at the time as a product designer, but then I got laid off around 1994, and I negotiated with Ed, and I kind of took over the company. So this is where I was living at the time. I was living in an apartment, and we had the bottom right corner of this apartment building. And I had a little tiny bedroom where I was working at Apogee. And my first products were all technical reports and other publications like my book. But we kind of outgrew that facility, and my wife got a job in Colorado Springs. So that was why we moved up here. And this was our house at 1431 Territory Trail. And I had the entire basement for Apogee, plus a little bit of the garage. And we were down in that facility for about 3 years, growing and, trying to serve our customers. And then finally, I got to the point where I had to move out. It was just too much for me to do all the work by myself, so I needed help. And I couldn't have people working out of my basement. So I started looking for a spot. This is the only photo I have of the basement. And this was the catalogs that I put out while I was in that basement. I started producing some kits and other electronics. And our first commercial office we got in 1999. And I, went from, a 700 square foot basement to like a 1,250 square foot office building. And this is a video I took at the time. It didn't have sound. And it was pretty low quality because, digital cameras were just in their infancy back then. My office was to the right, but I was able to hire an assistant who is still with the company today, and that's Michelle Mason. She is our office manager here at Apogee to this day. She pretty much runs the company. But this is what our facility looked like. There was our shipping station and my desk off to the right there. Back in the corner, we had a pile of books and some tools that I used to build rockets. And it wasn't a very big facility, but, you can see that was the entire inventory that I had at the time. Just, 6 or 7 shelves full of bin boxes with nose cones and body tubes. There's some packing peanuts. It also had a mezzanine up above the office area where I could store my own personal stuff. And you can see it wasn't a big facility, but it was mine. And from there we grew. The products that we developed here were like the Saturn V, which we still sell today, the Saturn 1B, the Apogee Blue Streak, the SR-71, small kits like that. But we were growing, and I also hired Mike Dorfler at the time, and he was the one that really developed the Saturn V and the Saturn 1B, and he worked out of his house in Canyon City. This is me working on the Saturn V. But as we outgrew, we looked for a second building, and we actually moved just right down the road, probably by maybe 4 or 5 blocks, to 1130 Elkton Drive. And we had the bottom floor to the right, so those entry doors right there by the truck, and to the right was our facility. I really liked this building because it had radiant heat in the winter time, so it was really nice and cozy. This was my office desk, and the warehouse space, we more than doubled in size. We were like 2,500 square feet at this time. And in this facility, I worked on kits that were in the Dynastar brand. So we started making bigger rocket kits here. But again, we specialized in shipping and receiving and, packaging parts. Yeah. This was our graphic artist desks. We had 2 people back there. But we were growing in size, and we were up to 7 people at this point. And I was still producing catalogs. So I think this was where I produced our final printed catalog. Because we were going more and more towards the internet. And on the internet, you can get all kinds of information into a catalog, and it didn't cost a lot compared to printing a catalog. This was the final printed catalog that we did, and it was strictly for retailers. We'd go to a hobby show and, present our products there. So we were growing and growing, and so around 2007, it was time to start looking for a bigger facility, and I found this one at 1130 Elkton Drive. No, this was 3355 Fillmore Ridge Heights. And this was our build out that we were doing because we needed more office space than the building had. And I also needed a workshop where I could make a lot of dust and noise and things like that. Oh, what happened? This was move-in day. Again, this was a big event for the history of Apogee. All this room that we thought we would never fill up. You can see this was pretty much our entire inventory. It just fit up against one wall. But we were, filling it out, and I hired an artist to paint a mural in the front. And this is the completed mural, and me holding a rocket. I also started doing videos in this facility. At first, I started doing them in the back in the warehouse, where right now this is the shipping department. But I was doing videos right here where these boxes were. And eventually I moved it into one of the offices because there just wasn't enough room when we needed the room for shipping and receiving and production. I also got my laser cutter here in this building. That was around 2014. We're still using to this day. I've had it upgraded since then. I also built my level 3 rocket here, but you can see my warehouse there in the back of the high bay where I built my rockets. And you can see, the back, we were filling it up pretty fast, faster than I had anticipated. Also, this was our front entryway where we displayed our rockets that we sold. What made Apogee different from other manufacturers is that we actually build the rockets that we sell. So even other manufacturers. To this day, we still do that where other people don't. Video that me and my daughter made, and she's going to give us a tour of 3355 Fillmore Ridge Heights. So I'll let her do the talking from here for a little bit.
I'll take you on a tour. Now we are inside Apogee, and this is what you will see when you come in. This is Michelle. And then there's also a dog named Pluto that likes to greet everybody, but he's outside right now. These are all the rockets that you will see. These are some rockets in these boxes that are ready to go out to customers. These are some more rockets that my dad has built and other people. There's another box that's ready to go out. Pluto, come. This is the dog I was talking about, Pluto. Dad, who owns it. This is the studio where he makes the videos. This is the room where they have meetings. Now we will go into the back. There are all the boxes. Now I'll show you, these are the rockets that he does not have in the front. Some of them are mine. Hoops back here. Those things which my sister likes to play with and put them on her head to say she's a princess. This is where they keep all their supplies. And that's Robbie. He packages the boxes. And these are rockets that people can buy. There's a lot of them. This is where Robbie packages the boxes. This is his desk. And then this is the room where they make stuff for the website.
I'm back here again.
Bye.
Yeah, that was Allison's little tour of Apogee. There's me in the video studio. But around 2016, right there at the presidential election time, we were like really full. And I was starting to look for a building to move into, but because of the economy, it was really hard to find a building. But we knew we had to move. Things were just packed almost to the ceiling, and there just wasn't a lot of room for further expansion. So about this time, I started looking around Colorado Springs because I knew that we had to get out. You can see more of the shop, the laser cutter there off to the left, and my photo booth. And in 2018, we actually did find a building. It took us that long to find a place. The company that was in the building before us was a restoration company, and they used the warehouse to park their trucks. which made quite a mess. But this was what it looked like before we moved into the building. They had this huge office area up front that was pretty much useless because we didn't have that many rockets to put on display up in front, and we needed the room for office space. So we knew we were going to have to build out some offices as part of tenant improvements. Yeah, this is just kind of what it looked like from before we moved in. And there's Michelle. She was part of the process of helping me design what we wanted for the facility and office space and things like that. And this was our gigantic warehouse. So we went from about 6,000 square feet on Fillmore Ridge Heights to over 11,700 square feet approximately in this building here on North Park Drive. So these were photos that I took before we started the build out of what we were going to, put into this facility. It was basically just a shell. There's just wide open room for lots and lots of stuff, and we didn't think that we would fill this up either. This little thing right there was actually a paint booth, but I had it ripped out because it was pretty much non-functional. It wasn't really good for rockets. This was our little back lot, which was just full of weeds at the time. This was the construction. That room right there would end up to be my video room. This was the office area. You could see just lots and lots of construction going on. And in about 3 months' time, they had the build out complete. So we signed the contract in March, and by Memorial Day, at the end of May, we were able to move in. You can see, just, all the offices that were built in, all that new drywall, that enclosed new offices. This was the front entryway. There was, again, we had one office added in plus a new reception area put in here. And this is that back lot. This is the extent of our property. We just cleaned it up, made it nice so that we wouldn't have homeless people living back there. This was our new shipping station. There was still lots of room for products, and we put in new light fixtures, and we put in a complete new high-speed internet system and Ethernet cables everywhere. I also put in electricity outlets everywhere in the building because you never have enough places to where you can plug in something. This is my office, has a big pillar in it. There are these steel cables that we couldn't remove because they were structural, so we had to build the windows around them. This is a vinyl printer that was used to print our new sign for the building. You can see that this one was a reject. It has a little extra arrowhead there that shouldn't have been there, but they printed up the sign and they installed it. And this was something that I really wanted because I wanted a sign right on the interstate, and so people, 25 million cars a year go past our building and they see space models right there along I-25. This is putting up the new sign and what it looks like today. We like that sign. This is me standing out there in front of the sign, holding some rockets. We also have a shipping dock, and this has paid for itself numerous times over. But that was before we moved in, and this was the final packing up the old place. This was just at the end of May of 2018. You can see the shelves have been emptied off. And we put everything that we had, and it all fit in one big truck, although we had to fill it up a couple of times. And we also rented a U-Haul because there was a lot of furniture that had to be moved. All those shelves had to be moved by hand. Again, like we did in the old building, we didn't skip a beat. We were able to keep running while we were packing up and unpacking in the new facility. So our customers didn't even know that we had moved. We did it all over Memorial Day weekend. So we had a 3-day weekend where we could pack everything up and move it over to the new building. So this is what it looks like as of today. So now we're caught up. You can see we got lots and lots of rockets up in the front. We got posters on the wall. This is a little meeting room where we have our morning meetings every day. You can see a lot of the rockets down there in the corner. Those are out of stock. These are our company values, and you'll notice it spells out the word rockets. Kind of cool, isn't it? You can see more and more rockets. I try to get them off the floor because it just makes cleaning a lot easier. This is going down the hallway into the back warehouse, and you can see this is our shipping area. We have 3 shipping stations in the front here, and we got another one in the back if we need it. You can see, you know, all the way to the very back. We're almost filled up again, and we've only been here since 2018. Another view of the shipping area right there. The aisles that go a long way along the building are finished goods ready to go out the door. This is kind of an overhead view of it. As you can see, there's just, you know, shelf after shelf and bin box after bin box of all the little parts that we carry, plus all the different rocket kits. Like here are the Estes ones. Off onto the right side is about 2 rows of the Apogee kits that we pack. This right here is the start of our production area, where these are parts that will go into the Apogee kits. They take up less room because we go through them pretty fast. These are nylon parachutes, obviously. We buy them in bulk. Here's nose cones, you know, again in bulk. Balsa wood. It's kind of cool that I have my own balsa shop where I can go, and if I'm building a rocket, I can personally select the best balsa wood for myself. That's our vinyl printer that we print up decals with. This is our production area where the kits are staged as we're putting them together. Lots of room for that. This is the laser cutter where we cut centering rings and body tubes and fins, things like that. This is production area where we make things like our foam protectors and our launch rail guides. And this is a mold that I made to make the hooks that will go on the strap-on booster kits, and those are the final hooks before they're cleaned up. This is my own personal workshop where I develop kits, and you can see it's a little bit bigger than I had before, but it's, you know, packed to the gills with all the little parts that you'd expect. And then we'll finish up the tour here in the video studio, which is also where we have still photography, and this is kind of what it looks like. You know, my setup, you know, lights hanging from the ceiling, just like that. So I thought I'd show you some of the equipment that we use and the process that we do here at Apogee that makes us kind of unique. One of them is laser cutting our own components. This is our Epilogue laser. We've had it since 2014. You can see here it's cutting some centering rings. This is some really thick plywood, which is why it's moving pretty slow. Typically it moves about, you know, maybe 3 times faster than this, but when you're going through really thick wood, we have to slow it down. We can only control the power of the laser, and right now it's at 100%. And we can also control the speed and the focal point of the laser. And other than that, we don't have a lot of control on it. So those variables are what we use to create the settings to cut the wood. We also make a lot of resin parts, and this is the process that we use. We create silicone molds of the parts, and then we mix up a 2-part urethane. And this urethane will solidify, and it takes approximately about 20 minutes for it to solidify. Then it can be popped out of the mold. Here you can see we're making some standoff rail guides. This is a new product for this year for TARC. And then finally, this is our vinyl printer. Right now it's printing a poster. We can do posters and stickers. We like this one a lot better because not only does it print, but it can also cut out the part from the sheet of paper and also do a kiss cut. So if you wanted to remove a sticker, you can just peel it up off the sticker. Okay. Okay, is my camera back on? So that was the end of the video. So now I can take your questions. So if you have a question over in the Q&A on the right side of the screen, you can type them in and I can try to answer them for you.
Tim, you'll want to turn your camera back on.
Camera's off. Is the camera back on?
No, we're not seeing you yet. This would be in the blue bar on the left side.
Yeah, I'm clicking on camera. It says camera is on, but you're not seeing me, huh? Well, I'll go to my FaceTime camera then, see if that works. Is that better?
There we go.
Okay. All right. So now I'm looking here. Yeah. So first question from Robert Kahn. I know Bob, he's down in Florida. Just curious, do you sell more inventory from your own products or products from other rocket companies? Well, the answer is probably other rocket companies, just because we carry so many other rockets. I was going through our list of rockets today, and like here's a new one that's going to be coming out called the Atomizer. And we have about 80 of our own Apogee branded kits. So we sell under Apogee and Dynastar. Those kits we make here in Colorado Springs. But we have probably over 200 complete rocket kits from other companies. So yes, we probably sell more of other companies just because of the sheer numbers of them. And he also asked, do you print your own decals for your products? And the answer is yes. Mostly. Like this one right here. These are vinyl decals that I showed in the video that our printer, it prints them. And we like our printer. That printer we got last year about this time. And we had another vinyl printer before then, but I didn't like that one as much. It was a little bit more clunky. But there were some decals in the past that we may still have in stock that were printed outside the company. Specifically the ones for water slide decals. We don't do water slide decals here. So like the Saturn V kit, the Saturn 1B, and the X15 use water slide decals. So those are outside. How many kits have you personally designed, Tim? This is from Copeland Feltz. I really don't know. Right now, like I said, we rarely discontinue a kit. So like some of our original kits, like the Blue Streak, the Avion, the SR-72, those are over 20 years old. I don't discontinue a lot of them. But yeah, I've designed so many that it's hard to put a number on. Zeke Ledford asks, how do you make body tubes? We buy all of our body tubes from other suppliers. It's just they can make them faster and cheaper. So we don't have that equipment. So we buy them from other places. Gary Leach says, have the supply chain issues been a problem for Apogee? And I would say yes. We do import some stuff from China, and we do have some stuff that's sitting out on the ocean somewhere. that we're waiting for it to come in. Our American suppliers are pretty good. We just, we do things like Aerotech Motors and Cesaroni Motors. Cesaroni's from Canada. They're pretty good at supplying us. Paul Kisner says, when are the 10.5 millimeter motors coming back? Just kidding. And yeah, I have no plans currently to bring them back. It's they're making motors is dangerous and expensive, and we're in the middle of downtown Colorado Springs, so we don't have a place to safely make motors. So it's going to be a long time before that happens. Brian Music says, how do you decide what to keep in inventory? I'm not sure the total question there, Brian. We keep everything that we think we're going to need. We try to keep enough inventory on hand so that we have at least 6 months to a year of inventory that we project that we're going to sell. And then we're constantly replenishing it. We're limited on room here. So as we run out of room, the inventory that we keep in the building will probably go down, and we're going to have to go more, replenish more often. But we don't like doing that because that gets expensive, because now you're paying more in shipping. Paul Kisner says, what's your favorite production kit that you have designed? Oh, that's an easy one, Paul. My favorite one is the next one. It's always the next one. I don't dwell on what I've done in the past. I'm always looking towards the future. Scott Pierce says, based on newsletter article, engine-driven gas dynamic I'm trying to build. What size holes do you put in the airframe of yours? That is not one of my articles. So you would have to ask the author of that article, and if his contact information is not in the article itself, you might have to reach out to him directly, try to get a hold of him. I'm sorry, I don't have a definite answer for you. John Eric Thompson, make ultralight carbon fiber tubes for model rockets is a nice course you offer. Thank you for making it. For those that don't know, I just recently released a I think it's like a 20 or 21 part episode on how to make ultralight carbon fiber tubes, and it's on Udemy. So it's not on the Apogee website, it's on a Udemy Academy. Udemy.com, I think is what it is. And these took me approximately 2 years to develop the process. It's not something that I can make like in kit form, because it takes approximately 8 hours to make a tube, and I couldn't afford to do that. But if you want to make your own tube and for competition out of carbon fiber, and you want a nice glossy finish, take the course. It's worth it. I think it's like $15 to $20. So it's not a lot, and I'm never going to get rich selling a course. It's just I wanted to have a way to control who was watching the course, and Udemy can do a lot better than I can. Scott Pierce says, hey peeps, you're all talking over each other. Okay. Stefan Nevard says, what are you using to cut body tubes down to size? You saw our laser cutter in the warehouse, and we can cut a tube. All of the tubes that we order at Apogee are 18 inches long, and they're 18 inches long for a reason, is because if they're that long, I can put them in my laser cutter and then I can cut them. Anything longer than that are made by other manufacturers. We sell lock tubes, and we sell occasionally fiberglass tubes when we can get them. And those are 48 inches long, and we don't touch those. they're too long for us to put in the laser cutter. In the laser cutter, I can cut them like really fast. Zake Leadford says, I have heard you have a 3D printer. What printer do you have? I have a printer from a company called Moonray, or they also go by Sprint Ray. And they specialize in dental 3D printers. But at the time, they did one of those crowdfunding things, and we put in for it because I looked at their technology and it looked pretty cool. So we got one of their crowdfunded pre-production models, but now that was in like 2016 or 2018. No, I had it in my old place, so it was before 2018. And the bed size that I can do is like 3 inches by 5 inches by 8 inches. So I can't do it for anything production related, but I do everything prototypes on it. Like I did the prototype cockpit for the X15 on there, and other things. Those flyaway, no, not the flyaway, the strap-on booster pods that you saw in the video that we were pouring. The prototypes were made 3D printed, and then I made the silicone mold from that. Donald Brent says, have you thought about expanding your 172 scale kit line to include earlier manned vehicles, Gemini, Titan, Mercury Atlas, and Mercury Redstone? And the answer is yes, we thought about it. That's as far as I got. It's just, there's so many things going on. And I probably should take like maybe 5 minutes sometime here before we get to the end to talk about new products, because the manufacture forum is tonight, and I thought I was going to be able to make it, but my daughter has some kind of school play going on tonight, so I've got to skip out on that. So I'll do my manufacturer's presentation here, and I'll show you what we're working on, but not any of the scale models right now. How many new kits have you developed each year? The 1 year I made it my goal to do as many as I could, and what we did was about 2 a month. So I did about 24 or 25 kits in a year, and that was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. My problem right now is that as Apogee grows, all kinds of other issues grow as well, like staffing issues and, taxes and just, just running a company. And so my time as a product developer is limited more and more. And I hired a designer last year, but unfortunately he moved on. And so now I'm without a product designer again. So I am looking for somebody to do product development. So if anybody is interested in becoming a product designer, working here in Colorado Springs with me, I would certainly be interested in talking to you. We have 4 job openings right now. So we have 2 in our warehouse, a product designer and a web developer that we're looking to restaff. Like everybody else in the country, we're having staffing issues, trying to, fill up, our needs. Okay. What project are you working on now personally? Okay, Robin Jackson. Maybe I'll share my screen here. My newest product that I'm working on right now is the RockSim Launch Visualizer. And let me see if I can share my screen again. Share screen. Okay, share. Okay, so this is the Launch Visualizer. And this is what I am currently working on right now. What it is, it's RockSim, but it's in the cloud. And instead of downloading and installing software on your computer, what you do is you just go to the website, rocksim.com, right up here. And when you're there, you can, this is a three-dimensional or full three-dimensional simulation. So this is the rocket sitting on the launch pad. And I can launch this rocket anywhere on the planet. So right over here, it's loading the Earth right now, and it loads them in maps. It's kind of loading kind of slow right now. So yeah, so this launch site here is our launch site in Pueblo, Colorado. This is the SCORE launch site. And you can see this is, I'm zooming out, and it's the full Earth. And then I can just click on the launch button and launch the rocket. Come on. And simulate the launch. And so it's running the simulation in the cloud. And then it will come back to the visualizer, and we'll see a simulation of the launch. It's usually faster than this. There we go. Okay, so now we're seeing the rocket sitting on the pad, and it's going to load the maps in the background, just like we saw. So you'll see the launch site in Pueblo, Colorado. I'm zooming out. Down here is called the mini view. Okay, so here's the spectator line. My rocket's right here, and then when I click on launch, you'll see the rocket take off. And so the rocket's lifting off. And it's gonna see the entire trajectory. So you're seeing this white column, that's the smoke coming out of the rocket. The green line is the trajectory line. And again, I'm gonna pause it, and then I can rotate it around, look at the rocket from any direction. Yeah, so now I'm looking at it from up. Yeah, so when I'm running two things at once, it kind of slows it down. So I'll try to get out of here as quickly as possible. And I'll go back to over here, stop sharing my screen. Okay, so that's what I'm currently working on. That's the launch visualizer. And we're gonna release it next week. So this has been a 2-year-long project that we've been working on, and I've had quite a big investment in it. And so my next step is to try to get it out to the world, try to market this as much as possible. So you're going to hear a lot more about the launch visualizer in the coming weeks. We still have RockSim for the desktop, and then the launch visualizer is our future, where we're going with RockSim. The difference between the launch visualizer and RockSim is the launch visualizer only runs simulations, but you need to design your rocket first, and that's still in RockSim. Eventually, my goal is to put everything online so that there's no software to download. Our biggest problem with RockSim is Microsoft and Apple Computer, because every time they come out with a new system update, they destroy RockSim, and then we have to fix it. If we can get everything in the cloud running on a browser, you don't have to download anything, and it just automatically runs. And then if anything happens, we can fix it fast, and we can do it pretty quick, and you wouldn't even notice it. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now. I'm also working on some, we're coming out with 3 new rocket kits here in the next few weeks. The first one is the atomizer, and you can see it's a BT-55 18mm rocket that's coming out. And we got the Habu. This is also same size, BT-55 18mm. We needed a simple kit that was a skill level 1. That was a little bit bigger than our other skill level 1 kits, so that's why we came out with this one. And then the third one is also pretty similar in size, but this one is a 2-stage rocket. So this one is called the Razzle Dazzle. So it's a 2-stage rocket, and then the fins, we tried to make them look so that they merge together, kind of fake you out when you launch it, because it goes up and everybody thinks it's a single stage, and then it pops apart, and turns into a 2-stage rocket. So that is what I am currently working on. Let me go back to questions because I know this is what you want to know. Nathan Branch says, as a student in high school, I believe that your videos and instructions are great for schools. Well, thank you, Nathan. With my observation that school budgets are tight due to COVID, is there a chance to create an educational kit that can achieve a price that minimizes the cost as much as possible? We do have educational kits that we have tried to minimize the cost as much as possible. We sell 2 or 3 different bulk packs of rockets specifically for schools. And when we can sell them in bulk, we can get the price down a little bit per rocket kit. As far as individual rocket kits, as one at a time, we're doing everything we can to keep our prices as low as possible. And right now with inflation, it's a struggle, but we're doing the best that we can. Thomas Stump says, any chance of selling Clema Motors along with your kits? I would love that. It's totally in Clema's hands right now. They need to get them approved for the United States. And so whenever you make a rocket motor, you know, they have to go through a bunch of government agencies, even before they go through the NAR to get certified. So that is up to them. We've indicated, you know, we're always looking for new motor manufacturers to carry, but you know, everybody has the same problems. Brian Music says, more, how do you figure out what kits you offer and what you decide to drop? When we look to create a kit, we look for a hole in the product line, you know, stuff that we're not selling that customers are asking for. Right now, people want fiberglass kits. So one of my future projects is to create a line of fiberglass kits. So that's the kind of how we decide what to carry. And then how do we decide what to drop? As I said before, when there's an Apogee kit, we try to keep it around as long as possible. It's been a long time since I've discontinued an Apogee kit. The last one that I can recall off the top of my head was the Delta 3 kit. That one was just a nightmare in production costs. So we decided to drop that one. So that would be kind of how we would decide to drop it. As far as other manufacturers, again, we want to keep them in the product line as long as possible, because the reason is we put in so much work on our website, and I'm sure you've all seen the Apogee website, apogeerockets.com. You know, each kit page that we create takes weeks to create. You know, like I said, we build the rocket, we fly the rocket, we take our own photographs, we do our own marketing. So we put in all this effort to create it, and I want to amortize that cost as long as possible. So I don't like it when they discontinue rockets, and we get that happening a lot. We carry a lot of small manufacturers. And the unfortunate thing about small manufacturers is this is a tough market to be in. So they have to stay in business. And if they go out of business, you know, the entire product line goes away. So that happens. Matt Ward asks, is there an index to the video series? And the answer is yes. Let me open my window back up here and I will show you how it's done. Share my screen. So share screen. Share that. Okay, so this is the Apogee website. If you're looking for the videos, go here to How To and Guides at the top menu. Click on that. And then go to Advanced Construction Videos right here. Click on that. And then these are the last 3 that we made, but all the videos that we made are right here under all videos. So you click on that and you can see all of them that we made. So here is video number 349, which came out last week. And no, that one came out this week, just a couple days ago. So you can go through this videos right here. Let me show you a little trick that I do. Like if I'm looking for a specific video, you know, I don't want to scroll down through the list of all 349 of them. So on your keyboard, do Control F if you're on Windows, and if you're on a Macintosh, do Command F. And then what you'll get is up here in the top of the screen is a search bar, and that search bar will only search this page. So like I would say, you know, this video down here, 347, has the word peel in it. Or maybe I want to do clustering. So I would type in the word cluster, and it shows me that there's 12 matches right here. So then I just click through them, and then here's one here, like how to cluster rocket motors with success. So that will be a video that you could watch. Since I'm on the Apogee website right now, let me show you a brand new feature that I just added today. If you go into the search bar and you type in Avion, and then click on the Avion kit. So that will bring you to the Avion page. And if you scroll down, here's the brand new feature. I mean, remember I was just talking about the launch visualizer for RockSim? Well, we built a widget into the page. And if you actually click on this image right here, it will actually start the launch visualizer, and it will put it onto your screen without you having to load any software. It's a little bit slow because I'm also doing this live stream right now. So my computer is like trying to do multiple things. But so here is the launch visualizer, and it will actually load that particular rocket on the page that you're on. So here is the Avion, and like I did before, I can launch it. And so the launch button is kind of hidden though. That's the only thing that I don't like about it, is here's the launch button. It's got a little finger pointing to the button. But if you scroll inside the widget screen, that launch button gets kind of hidden. So it's at the very top, and you just click on launch. And you can do this right now. But I've only put it on our web pages of the Apogee kits that start with the letter A. I'm working through them alphabetical. So I've done the Aerodactyl and the Amarok and the Avion and the Apprentice and the Airmail rocket, all of those kits. And then you just click on the launch button, and it will run the simulation. And you can change motors. I'm not going to go through this right now, but you can change the motors in the simulator, and you can run your simulation right here inside of the Apogee website. So I'm really happy about that. That's I think, gonna be really, really fun for people, because now you don't even have to go to the rocksim.com website to run the visualizer. You can just do it from the Apogee site. And we're going to make that available as a widget, and hopefully maybe other people would like to put it on their own websites as well. So I think I'm back here, and I got 5 minutes left, so I'll go through as many questions as you have. Asa Lato says, is there a new type of machinery or process you're excited to add in the near future? I would like to add robots, but they don't exist yet. Because of labor shortages, I think robots are the way of the future. But the current robots that are out there are all one specific task. You know, like picking up a box here and moving it here, picking it up here or moving it here, just like they use in the automotive industry. I'm waiting for the humanoid robots, and I've been following that, but they're not out yet. Tesla's talking about making one.
Tim, I want to point out that you have plenty of time yet for your
Okay.
presentation. So if you'd like to interrupt at some point on the questions and go ahead and do your manufacturer.
Oh, I already did the manufacturer thing while we were talking.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure you had all those bases covered.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, we got those 3 new kits coming out. We got the launch visualizer coming out next week. You can go to the website right now, rocksim.com. You can play around with it. But before we go live, it's in beta right now. So before we switch it from beta to the live version, we're going to purge all the user databases. So if you go there today and create an account, next week we're going to purge it, and then you'd have to create a new account again. But it only takes like 30 seconds to create an account. So it's not like you're going to lose anything. Frank also asks about 1/70th scale kits, and he's voting for the Little Joe 2. That's cool. As I said before, I've got so much on my plate right now that I can't do a new design. Like I am looking for product developers to help me with that kind of thing. So again, if you are looking for a job, we have them here at Apogee too. Jose Sura says, can you comment on the use of 3D printers for making parts? I think I mentioned this before. 3D printing is really great for making prototype parts, but for making production parts, it's terribly slow and expensive. Like my printer can print 1 inch per hour. So any part that's taller than 1 inch takes an hour. And if you saw the video that I did earlier, where we were making cast resin parts, what we would do is create a mold from the production or the prototype part and then cast it out of resin. And those, you can get a whole tray of them every 20 minutes. So if you wanted to do production parts, that's how you use your 3D printer. You make a prototype with the 3D printer and then make a mold of it and then cast it out of resin. John Sullivan asks, are you open for on-site retail sales? And the answer is yes. We welcome customers here every day. We are right off the interstate in Colorado Springs. So as you're going north-south on Interstate 25, our exit is a famous one. It's called Garden of the Gods because Colorado Springs is famous for the Garden of the Gods Park. And so that's our exit. And if you're driving along the interstate, you'll see our sign. And come on by. We're open from 9 a.m. weekdays until about 4:30. We're here until 5, but around 4:30, we need to start packing up for the day. So we won't kick you out, but we strongly advise you to get here before 4:30. Will you be open Washington's birthday, February 21, says David Kress? And the answer is yes, we will be here. That is not one of our holidays. We only take, I think, 7 holidays per year. New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Six holidays. So that's not one of them. Michael O'Brien said, what is the water you drink during your Friday afternoon rock sim sessions? I just drink regular tap water, and then I put in flavoring, those little squeeze bottles that you can get at the supermarket to give a little flavor. I use the tea, sweet tea, just to get a little flavor to entice you to drink because you need to keep hydrated. Speaking of the RockSim live sessions, every Friday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 4 p.m. on the East Coast, I do an hour-long RockSim training where all I talk about is your questions on how to use RockSim. So if you have a question in 1 more hour, I will be back here in the studio doing RockSim Live. So yes. Copeland Felt says, will you be at any NAR national events this year, NSL or NARM? I don't think I'm going to be making it to NSL because that's in South Carolina and that's all the way on the other side of the country. And normally I would go to NSL. I probably will be at NARM. I'm hoping to be at NARM, crossing my fingers. My daughter, Allison, who you saw, that little girl in the video that was 9 years old. Well, she's going to be 22 this year, and she's graduating from college and she's getting married. And I have to go to one of her last diving meets in Virginia. So I'm going to be taking 3 trips to Virginia before the end of June. So I just can't pull away to go to NSL this year, but I would love to go. And I would love to go to LDRS, and LDRS is at the same time as my daughter's wedding. George Ranker says, are you having problems getting balsa? Not quite yet. So far we've been pretty good on getting balsa wood. So as you saw in the video, we had a whole stack of balsa wood. So cross our fingers that it stays that way. What is your favorite rocket build and launch? I answered this question already. My favorite rocket is always the next one. So the next project I'm working on is my favorite rocket. I don't dwell on the past. I'm always looking towards the future. My favorite rocket launch, the one that I can remember the best is probably my level 3 flight, just because it was documented by the company called LifeProof. LifeProof makes those cases that go on your cell phones, and they paid for my L3. They wanted to launch cell phones. There were 6 cameras around the rocket. They were Galaxy cell phones, and they had their LifeProof cases on them. And we launched them on my level 3 rocket, and they documented the whole thing, and it was quite an event. Todd, whenever you're ready, you can, or when I'm out of time, you just interrupt me. George Ranker says, I have glider plans. Can you laser cut from a PDF plan? The answer, George, is yes. We cut laser parts using PDFs. The laser cutter is very much like a printer. So to cut anything, you just, on your keyboard, you just select the printer you want and you say go. So we use PDFs to cut on our laser. Now, if your question is, can I cut it for you? The answer is probably, unfortunately, not. We are not set up to cut parts for other people, just because we're running our laser cutter just as much as we can. We're short staff, as I said, so we just don't have the time to do other people's projects. Okay. Robert Cohn says, on your launch simulator, are you doing the programming? And the answer is no. I am not a programmer. The programmers, I work with outside companies that are doing the programming, and I always ask for much more than they can do. We all have our dreams, that I want done, and so I give them my vision and I say, can you do it? And then they say, no, we can't do that yet. And so that's how they get mad at me.
Tim, before you go on to the next question,
okay.
We have you scheduled. We're open for the next 55 minutes, but I know that you have to go. I know that you have to go for your other responsibilities. So when you need to call it quits,
okay,
you go ahead.
I'll go another 10 more minutes.
Very good.
I don't know how many questions are here, but we'll try. You people have the questions. You're paying for me to be here, although I'm paying to be here too. I had to buy my own ticket, and I'm going to be watching, this NARCON over the weekend as well. William Marchand says, any news on the GPS control parachute product? Yes, I forgot to mention that, William. There is news to announce. The holdup on that project was two parts. The first part was the parachutes. The parachutes they require extreme precision to make them, because what they are is they are a glider. You know, and if you ever flown a hand launched glider or anything, if you don't have it trimmed right, the glider is going to do a spiral circle and dive into the ground. And because of that, we had to work with our parachute manufacturer to get the quality level up to, you know, a 10x increase in quality compared to our other parachutes. And if you've ever bought any of our Apogee parachutes, our nylon parachutes, you know those are really high quality. And we needed 10 times the quality on these things. The strings that come down to the, you know, the point at the bottom, each of those strings has to be a specific length. If one string is shorter or longer than the other one, it's going to off balance the parachute and it's going to cause it to turn. So that right there, there's the big parachute. The parachutes are going to come in three sizes. The biggest one I think has 28 lines on it. It's symmetrical about itself. So there's 14 lines on each side, and each one of those lines is a different length. So imagine trying to manufacture those, measuring all the lines every time, tying the knots at the right spot. So that was the holdup. Remember when at the beginning of this I said there was a question, is the supply issues affecting you? And I said that we had stuff in containers on the ocean off of California, and those parachutes are in the container off the coast of California right now. So the parachutes are on their way in. Now, once the parachutes get in here, this is where the second issue is. Originally, we wanted to be GPS controlled. Because of the chip shortage, we can't do the GPS part. But what we can do is make it a manual controlled, product. So if you have your own RC radio, a servo, and the receiver and these are off-the-shelf products that you can buy at a hobby store or online or Amazon or wherever. You just, you need a radio, and it only needs to be a single channel. And then you need a servo inside and the receiver and the battery. Everything else that we're going to supply. So there's going to be a sled and a payload. It's kind of like an eBay that everything will mount inside. So as soon as the parachutes get in here, then I'm going to start spooling up production for everything else, because everything else is made here in the United States. So I can do it pretty fast. Some of the items we already have in stock, like it comes with a clear payload tube, and I ordered that like a couple of years ago, in anticipation of this project. So I'm crossing my fingers. Sometime middle of the year, it should be out sooner if possible. Because it's no longer GPS controlled, we got to redo a lot of things. But as soon as I get the launch visualizer released, that's my absolute project, like this week, next week after that. But then as soon as that one's out the door, then I can switch over to the GPS. It's no longer a GPS parachute. We're just going to call it the gliding parachute. Paul Kisner says, please don't put Roxham entirely in the cloud. I need to run it without internet access. Well, like I said, Paul, it's not going to be in the cloud anytime soon. Probably within the next year and a half, because it takes a long time just to program it. But long term, we got to go to the cloud. It's just the problems that Microsoft and Apple are creating is just every single time they release a new security update, they break RockSim. And so we have problems. So then basically what that means, but as long as you are running it on your computer, you can continue to run it, but you have to keep it running on your computer. So don't upgrade when Microsoft or Apple releases an update. Don't upgrade. And then RockSim will continue to run. But eventually it will be a lot better for our users if it's in the cloud, because what we can do is every time I want a new feature, it just automatically happens, and the users don't have to download an update or do any of that. It just makes it so much better for everybody. And internet access is getting better and better. So, with all these internet constellations that are putting into orbit right now, not only is there Starlink, but there's like 3 or 4 other ones that are going up into orbit right now. And so internet access is going to be, in the future, a lot better. So I am counting on those companies to push technology forward to make your life easier. Okay, Robert says, how much customer input do you get for new rocket designs? People are always asking for scale kits, so there's a lot of input there. But then we also try to fill holes in the market. So like the Habu kit that I was talking about earlier, this was a product that customers wanted. It may not be you, but other customers wanted it, particularly schools. So if there's a hole in the market, yes, we're going to try to fill it with a kit. The gliding parachute, that was customer input too. People say, hey, what would be really cool is if I don't have to chase my rocket. Okay, I'm listening. Yeah, so if you have input, I can't guarantee we're going to do it like that, but we do try to listen to what customers say. And I think there's a lot of products like that we've come out with, the flyaway rail guides, display stands. People are always asking for stuff. We try to listen. Nathan Branch says, would the launch visualizer be able to work on mobile devices? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We have designed it to make sure it works on mobile devices. It's a little bit hard just because of the screen size is small on a cell phone, but if you get into a tablet, it's just like running it on your computer. Yeah, so you can do it at a launch. If you have internet connectivity at your launch site, that would be, you could run it right there. And what I think I predict, my prediction for 2022 is that clubs around the country are going to have Wi-Fi access more and more on the field. So if, that way you can run simulations, nobody will complain if you have Wi-Fi access at your launch site. So if you have a club, maybe you might want to bring this up to the club and say, hey, let's pool our resources together and, get a Starlink dish so that we can have Wi-Fi on the field. How cool would that be? If you got a big club, that would be awesome. Go ahead and do it.
Okay, Tim, feel free to wrap it up when you need to.
Okay. David Kane asks the same question. Will Chromebooks be supported for the launch simulator in the cloud? And the answer is yes. If you can run a web browser, that's all you need, a web browser. So you can run a web browser on your phone, tablet, computer, Chromebook, it will work. So there you go. Okay. Man, you guys have so many questions. My voice is kind of going, and I've got to do another hour presentation in 45 minutes. So I think I will stop here, but I really appreciate all the great questions. You guys have been awesome. And I don't know if they're going to archive this anywhere, but that would be great. I would be all for it. to let people download it and see what happens here at NARCON. So
Great.
So
Tim, thank you.
Todd.
Yep. Thank you so much, Tim, for spending this time with us and being our opening tour. I really appreciated the tour
All
of
right.
Apogee.
Okay.
Everyone, I'm going to encourage you at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time to join James Duffy for his presentation. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you, everyone.